wasn't an airplane. It was not an airplane. It was down off the road.
You are listening to Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast with your host, Ash Ellis.
Welcome to this week's episode of Pursuit of the Paranormal. And it's our first couple of weeks back as the podcast. We hope you're enjoying the return of Pursuit of the Paranormal with just me from now on going forward. And this week we have a guest. I've been on his podcast. We've been out doing some investigations together. He's originally from around near where I live, but now lives a bit further down south. And he is, to me, one of the hardest working guys in the paranormal right now, and we'll find out why shortly. So welcome to the stream, Andy the Codes. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's all good. Everything's good.
What I love about your podcast is just your background. It's just full of so much random stuff.
Teaming and being and do you know what? Teaming and being and bargains, 90% of it. No, it's not just. It's like some of the bits, but I always go for a bargain. Put it that way.
That's the way. Yeah. So you have basically what seems like a different podcast every night. It feels that way. I think sure it does to you as well.
Yeah.
So before we get on to that, just want to tell us a bit about you, kind of your history and where this all started.
So at the moment, I'm living down south, just about 40 minutes outside London. Originally from Manchester, a place called Swinton, which is near the Trafford Centre for anyone who knows it. Born there, grew up there up until 16 years ago. That's when I moved down south. Lived a few different places in and around Manchester. Lived over in Hyde, lived in Earlham, lived in Radcliffe. So, but all around sort of the same part, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, moved down south, lived in 2 different towns. 16 years I've been here. I've lived in both towns twice, which is weird. So I lived in one, then moved to the other, then moved back to the first one. Now I'm back in the second one. So yeah.
Seems like you're not very good at settling.
No, depends who you're with, doesn't it? That's all I'm gonna say. But no, it's good now. Everything's good now. But so moved down here. But do you know the reason why I do the paranormal?
Yeah.
So what got me into it is, I got myself into it. I know it sounds weird saying that, but my very first encounter that I can recall, I was about 4 years old. I was lying in bed, and my mum used to call me the human water bottle because I would literally, she put me in bed, no matter what time of year it was. I won't always sweat. That sounds weird, but I was always dead hot. I'm always hot all the time. It could be -20 outside. I'll still be really warm. So she used to put me in bed to warm it up. And then when my dad would come into bed, she'd kick me out and stick me in my own. So I was in their bed. I'm sure it was this. And I'm looking at the wall. And I'm seeing this this light figure dancing on the wall. And the only thing that I can relate it to is when you listen to vinyl records and the sun hits it and bounces off, you get that like light pattern, and it's just constantly going round and round in the same thing. And it's like one of them, probably about 3-4 inches tall. And I'm just there, mesmerized. It's like a whitey bluey colour. And there's no light coming in the back because it's just fields at the back of the house. There's no artificial light. Before they built the second runway at Manchester, we was on the flight path for the plane circling, waiting to land. So we did get that, but this wasn't aircraft light coming in because it'd be constant, and it wasn't. So, and I just watched it, and then next thing I'm waking up next morning in my own bed. Now I know my mum put me there. It wasn't like I transcended from one room to the other or anything like that. This was like that's what happened. So that was the only time that I ever remember that happening, and that's where it all started. And then it was during lockdown, um, Halloween, favorite time of year, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere, do anything. And I'm sat there, and I'm like just rocking because I was so bored, and like it was just nothing to do. So I thought, right, I've seen all these. I'll listen to podcasts and that, and I was watching a lot of people do Facebook Live, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, right, I'm going to set up a website, Facebook group. Well, I did a Facebook page because I didn't know how Facebook worked. Wasn't into the media side of everything. So I set up Facebook page, Instagram. Don't think TikTok was there. Or it might have just started. I didn't really know what TikTok was. Snapchat was there. I don't know if I did that, but it was mainly Facebook, website, Instagram, and I was looking at how YouTube worked. So I got all that, and I just thought, right, that's there ready for when I start doing stuff. So did a couple of interviews on the podcast. First person that I spoke to for it was Deborah Hatswell at BBR, and then I went on there a couple of times, and it's like, I kind of like this. I want to not that part to it, but I want to go out and do more. Like the going out and finding stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, right, I'll go out. I know people who are into it because I've been out with them prior to me doing all this in Manchester and down south. So met up with a couple of them and done Facebook Live. So I did that, and then I found out about how YouTube worked. So then I transferred it over from Facebook to YouTube and started doing YouTube and going out doing investigations in like different areas. And people would say to me, these places that you're going to, what's the story behind it? I'm like, don't know, just going to go. Like, well, why are you going somewhere that you don't, why are you going somewhere if there's no stuff going on? I'm like, well, you've got to think about it. There's stuff going on all the time, every single day, everywhere around the world. If you're not there to witness it, you're not going to know it's happening. So just because
True.
somewhere is known for having stuff going on doesn't mean to say there is. And just because somewhere isn't known for anything going on doesn't mean to say there isn't. And luckily, most of the places that I've been to have had stuff going on because I've got live video evidence, I've got playback evidence, I've got actual physical experience while being there, on and off camera, not just me, other people that have been out with me. And it's just, so my belief is, it doesn't matter where you go. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless of where you are. You could be walking down Tesco on like bread aisle and someone chucks a pound cake at your head. Something chucks a pound cake at your head. But I used to work at M&S, right, in Milton Keynes, and I heard people. So in the basement, the sensor lights. So as you walk towards the lights, they come on. So they come on and they're moving away from you. I'm stood at one end where the lift is. The other end is where the stairs are, and it's got 120 meters. I won't like to run it if I'm getting chased. I'm stood there in the freezer, and the lights started coming on towards me, and there's nobody there. You can see clearly if there's anyone there because it's just racking that stop dead either end, like up at walls. So you've got to walk down the middle to get into each one. And the lights are coming on to her, and I'm banging on this lift button. Get back up because I wasn't waiting. At night, I've heard a woman singing like 1920s, like Vera Lynn style of music. There's one lad swears blind, and this is what I said about the market. It's something for a box of wheat picks at him. So that's what I mean. It doesn't matter where you are. If there's something going on, it can go on anywhere. It makes no difference where you are.
Yes, definitely. Like I say, some places where kind of have the reputation, you're going to go there with kind of like a preconceived kind of notion. So things may be more likely to happen because you're expecting it. Whereas if you've got somewhere where there's no history or where there's not much history, you don't know what's going to happen because anything that happens is more like actually happening rather than you're expecting. Oh, there's a ghost of a girl's been
Yeah.
seen at this place. Oh, that might be a little girl. Whereas you've not got that in your
Yeah.
head. It's more like a real one, I guess.
Yeah. So I call it going in blind. I'd rather go somewhere and
Mm.
not know anything about the place. If something happens, then yeah, and then I'll find out what afterwards what exactly has gone on. I don't like to go somewhere and they go, oh, so you've got poltergeist activity in this room. There's a little girl that runs round and ties your shoelaces together. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
all that because, like you say, you got a preconception then straight away. So if you have that preconception, if we drop back into like manifestation, maybe you're creating that and it's not actually happening. If
Yeah.
that happens and you don't know, then it's real. For me, it's real.
Mm.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And that's why. So going back to doing the live stream, like, it's like why not just go somewhere, see what's going on there? Just it doesn't matter whether there's anything going on. And luckily, depends how you look at it. I've had stuff happen at I'd say 90% of places that I've gone to. There's a lot of places I've gone to these places where I've had tons of stuff go on and nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever. But it just proves that you don't get everything every single time you go out.
Yeah, definitely. And just talking about supermarkets, I used to work
Yeah.
for a high street convenience chain.
Yeah.
With 4 letters, and I've got CCTV saved on my phone. I'm not supposed to have it, no GDPR stuff, so I would post it on here, but I don't want to break any. But it was only me in the video, but it's not my property. But there's one where, so I was doing the bread, and behind me is nothing. It's just like the chill aisle, and I felt someone walk behind me and stand behind me.
Yeah.
So I sort of moved in to move out the way because there's only small aisles, and I've got the bread trolley out, so I'm moving
Yeah.
out the way to make room, and there's no one there. So I'm looking down the aisle. I look at the top of the aisle. There's no one in the shop like at all. So I just felt someone walk, like literally felt someone stand behind me. That was really weird. So I didn't think anything of it. And then the very next day, at the similar time, I was in the back and heard a crash come from one of the aisles. So I went out to see what happened. And one of the trays of veg from the chill aisle
Yeah.
just was on the floor and all the veg was everywhere.
Oh.
So it's like, bloody hell. So went to watch the CCTV and exactly where I was stood the day before. This is probably about half an hour to a day exactly afterwards. No one's in the aisle, no one's there. And then you see the tray get pulled like a little bit and
Yeah.
then comes really fast. Like and then just
Ah.
falls on the
So
floor.
it's like full
It's,
movement.
it's like a proper fall. You could think, oh, it could have slid off. It's heavy gravity because it's at a slight angle.
Yeah,
But,
because it's
but when you watch
out
with the CCTV, though, when you watch it, it kind of moves out and then down rather than downwards at an angle.
Yeah.
It comes out straight and then drops. It's really like someone fell. So I was like, that's where I heard felt someone literally 24 hours earlier felt someone stuck there in that space. So I got both CCTVs on my phone, which I shouldn't have. But it's just, but it's just mad. And that building's like, it's really, really old. It's got like bombshells and stuff underground. It's really, really old set of buildings. And we had someone else there where the back door opened on its own. The fire alarm went off.
Yeah.
And how has fire alarm gone off? So obviously did everything, checked the panel. And it's the back door. Sometimes you get kids messing around out the backs doing stuff.
Yeah,
Messing
but
with
haven't you
doors.
got to open them from the inside?
Yeah. So wasn't you watch CCTV?
The bar.
The bar, so the door's
Yeah.
closed, and then you don't see the bar compressed because CCTV is not that good because the door CCTV is at the top and it's down some stairs and these back doors, but the door just pushes open, and those doors are totally secured, like they're
Yeah.
locked every night. They've not been opened for I don't know how many years or months because it's a fire
Forever.
exit that never gets used.
Yeah.
And if it's just open like that, it's just like that's never been opened. That doesn't make sense. So that opened.
Thing
And
is
set the
with
fire
that-
alarm off.
Yeah. If it happened regular, then you could put it down to malfunction or like hinge broke or something like that. But if it's only happened the once, then it's
So I got that on my
let you
phone
know
as
it's
well.
there.
Got loads of CCTVs on that on my phone.
I've got one CCTV from a shop in Northampton. So I know the ex-manager of there, and they're filming the CCTV, and you see there's like, you got trainers stacked up on the wall. So this is on a wall that is, so you got that shot, then you got Superdry next door. So they're on the wall. So the shopping centre Shuts at 5:30 for shopping, and everyone's got to be out of there around about 6 o'clock, quarter past at the latest. Then security shut on the exterior doors.
Yeah.
But so you can see, so it's the camera pointing from the door as you walk into the shoe shop or trainer shop, and then you can see a mirror on the back wall. Now that's a door that goes into where the stock is kept.
Mm.
So you can see this happen in the mirror as well. So you see a trainer, it's like it's there, it twists and then drops, doesn't just fall off, and it hits another shoe. So they're all lined up. How would it? It could hit another shoe on the way down, but it bounces about 5-6 foot away from the wall. But so that's the only time they've got on CCTV. They've gone in because I know a few people that work there now. They've gone in, and there's been trainers just randomly just spread about. Because what they do, as you know, if anyone works in retail, when you're locking up, you make sure it's ready for when you open the next morning.
Yeah.
So it's all set and it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's been in? Why would anyone do that? That's what the managers are thinking. And it's like, and then they'll be like, I know that all this was perfect because I locked up. None of this was on the floor. Nobody else would have come back because he can't get into the center to then get in the shop. Even if they had keys, they couldn't get in until the center opens.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
it's, do you know what I mean? It's just weird stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like I said, these are places you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, but
But
people
not a classically haunted type of
yeah,
place.
but people that work there, they've said that when they've been working there, because my missus worked there for a few months, and even she said there's some parts of it you feel like you're being watched, and there's not, and you turn around thinking there's a customer waiting for you. Turn around, there's no one there. Bye. Yeah. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean with that. But yeah, yeah. So going back to my first encounter was when I was about 4, and I've had pretty much everything you can feel. I know a lot of people probably won't believe this, but I'm not. Some of it, it's not about being believed. It's about I know what happened. I know what I seen.
Yeah.
And no, I probably cannot explain 99% of it, but I know the emotions that I felt, what I went through. I can describe to you what I've seen. I can pretty much recall the time of day, and because through doing this, you kind of like you log everything that's going on, weather conditions.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else about? Season, all that kind of stuff, and you mentally log it, and you just remember it. And I've had from people banging on the door, and as they've done the third bang on the door, we've grabbed hold of the. You remember the old doorknobs? Because this was in Salford near Salford's rugby ground. My uncle used to be the groundsman of Salford Reds.
The Willows.
Yeah, the Willows. Yeah. My mum used to go every weekend watching Shawaddy and all that. So my uncle used to get tickets from him, what have you. So my auntie, my mum's sister. So we'd stay over. So me and my cousin, but this was an afternoon. All the adults were downstairs watching. This is where they was watching Poltergeist or maybe or The Exorcist or something. It was one of them. So we were upstairs. We was only like 7, 8, maybe, like playing with Action Men and that. And there's like bang bang. He goes, oh, it's probably like someone because you had to walk past the bedroom to get to the toilet. It happened a few times, and then you could see the door handle just the knob turned. You know, it makes that little creaky noise. You remember the old thumb slidey locks?
Yeah.
Little thumb slide lock in the bottom corner. You'd see that moving as well. So we're like, yeah, it's someone messing about. So we ignored it. Anyway, the third time it was proper rapping on the door, like someone beating a drum. And on the third one, we both grabbed the door, opened it, nobody there. I swear to God, I flew from the top step to the bottom step. I did not touch any in the middle. I didn't go back upstairs.
Just being that young as well, Jesus.
Yeah. And I think that was where everything started happening. But at that house as well, my aunt said they used to have a rocking chair in the living room. And they had a cellar, but it's all filled in. And they had like a little mini bar around it. You had to like corner it off. She said that my cousin, she'd hear him talking to someone downstairs. She'd come down and a rocking chair would be slowing down to a stop. But that area of Salford, it's west, is all built on an old cemetery.
Right.
And all they did was move the headstones. So it's a bit Amateurville-ish. They didn't clear all the bodies.
Gosh.
Yeah, so nice,
I think
nice area.
I think that's pretty cool, though. I think.
Yeah, and the fact that I didn't live there, it was like family members like, yeah, I can go home now. But yeah,
although you had some experiences at your house, though. When you were
yeah.
younger.
So that was real. That was the only one really in the house that I grew up in. I used to feel like when I was in bed that there's things leaning over me, like not what. Oh yeah, kind of like watching me, like dark figures. I always think there's like 5 of them for some reason, and I'd go under the covers and I'd stay there. I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but it got to the point where I was that scared of getting out of the bed. I'm only like I said, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. I was that scared of getting out and going to the toilet, I'd wet the bed because I didn't want to see what. I knew there was something there, but I didn't want to see who or what they were. And yeah,
Understandable.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. I'm not ashamed to say it, but that's how frightened I was at the time because I didn't know what it was. But I was intrigued. Even though I didn't want to know, I was too scared to see. You're still in the back of your mind. It's like, well, what actually is it? Do you know what I mean? It was like that. So, yeah. So that was there, and then I've just had all sorts go on from going out shopping, and there's 3 doors in the house, and so the back door and the side door was the big bolts, like one at the top, one at the bottom, and you got the twisty lock, which is a deadlocks of doors. I had one of them on both of them, and then the side door had the key on it as well. So the front door had a mortise and a Yale, so they were locked. So we'd go out shopping, we'd come back going through the front door. All the bolts have been slid open.
Wow.
And the deadlock's open. I'm like, I know I closed them because it was the last thing I did. And now it's open, and there's only us 2 that have got a key to get in and out. The youngest was like 3 months old. Probably not even that. He's like literally just been born. And there's no way, but we'd be sat in the front room. So the front room, this is in Earlham. So the front room was at the back of the house. The kitchen and the stairs were at the front. We'd be sat and the taps would come on. You'd hear them. And not just a little trickle, like Niagara Falls, just full, hot and cold, both of them. So it wasn't like it was a dodgy seal because both taps would come on every single, and we'd turn them off. And it was just randomly, they'd come on, and the tap would be turned. It wasn't like the seal was broken, the water's just coming out. You'd physically have to turn the tap.
Yeah. Gosh.
And there's another time, one of the scariest things at that house. So when you sat in the front room, or living room, should say, you can see like down the hallway. I used to have a big fish tank under the stairs, and you could see the front door. So if anyone knocked on during the day, you could see who it was. Anyway, I'm sat there, and just looked, and there's a massive fireball. Right? I honestly thought someone had petrol bombed the house. I mean, my eldest was there as well, and the youngest, and we're like, what the hell? And we all got up and ran. The kids were scared. And it was a disposable lighter about 4 steps up on the stairs. So as you walk in, you got the stairs to the right, and then like the walkway into where the kitchen and living room are. So as I got to it, it went out. I picked the lighter up. You'd expect it to be hot. No, it's like you just picked it up off the side. Checked it, it worked. There was no smell of fire, no smell of smoke. There's no burn on the carpet. It was painted white, the banister and that, the rails and the skirting board. No burn marks, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the fireball was, about 4 foot. It was massive.
That's mad. In fact, the kids saw it as well.
Yeah, we all seen it.
Yeah.
So me, my eldest, my ex, even the little one I don't know if he was asleep, but where the eldest son was sat on the computer, it was like at the side of the door, and he stuck his head round. And he got scared and ran towards me. Oh, what the? Yeah, it was weird. That was scary. That one.
That's the thing, like you sort of getting dangerous with like that type of
Yeah.
stuff as well.
But there was never, even though that happened, never felt any negative stuff other than a fire. But I know that sounds so stupid, but didn't ever feel negative. And that was it. It was the taps. Once that fire thing did it, and then I think it was something trying to get our attention for whatever reason. I couldn't tell you what. Never seen anything, never heard anything other than the taps coming on, the bolts. And that with the bolts, that wasn't just once. That was like 3-4 times a week.
You want a water meter, or do you?
Say again?
Do you have a water meter? Was that a point in your?
No. That was the thing. It was just normal. It was pre-water meter. So this is going back 2004. So 20 years ago, we moved into that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What about any UFO experiences?
Oh, where do I start?
That's my
So-
obviously my main interest is UFO.
Yeah. So I know you know about these, but so the first one was back in Swinton in Manchester, and I was about 8 years old, and I was riding around on my bike. I got a bike. It's a Rally Striker, grey one, grey and black is what I got. And it's been raining, and I weren't allowed to go out on my bike when it was raining in case I fell off and hurt myself. I was my mum saying, in case you fall off and get run over, is what she said. Right? Even though we lived in an estate and there's about 6 people with cars. Because back in like 1980, it was 81. Obviously, there weren't that many. So the street I lived in, there's only 10 houses, a little tiny cul-de-sac. There was 1, 2, 3 people we can't. Out of the 10 houses, only 3 people had a car. So you can imagine what it was like. There was,
a lot different to now.
Yeah. It's like you
With
get
20
that,
cars
you
for
get
10
that
houses
per
now,
house, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's like very, very few. And it was when like dogs were just roaming wild. They weren't. Obviously, there's pet dogs, but you don't see that anymore, do you? Dogs are not allowed to roam around, and it's just, it was like living in the wilderness. It was weird. If you think back at how it was, like I said, at the back. So as you come down the estate, if you start at the top, on the left-hand side, it was just fields, and then there's an old sewer works, and you've got Eccles Fields, then you've got Swinton Golf Course, and then you're coming up to like Buell Hill and all that area, like top of Lancaster Road. Going the other way, you've got you're going out towards Worsley, like the garden centre, and then you've got another golf. There's a few housing estates and that, and then you've got Eccles Golf Course. I think that's. Oh, I can't remember because you got Swinton, which is near Salford. Then you've got the next one, which is at the back of Chatsworth at Broad Oak. I can't remember. It's a pitch and putt because me and my mate used to go on the pitch and putt because his uncle was a member of the main one, so we could go on there with his membership. I cannot remember the name of it. I think it was Monton Golf Course. We call it Monton Golf Course. So you had that at the back, then you had the stream, then you've got the old rail line, which is a loop line now that goes like from Monton all the way up into Bolton, and you can come off at different areas. So then you got the Bridgewater Canal, then you got Worsley Woods and that. So it is, even though there's quite a lot of housing, that it is a very green area. So anyway, so back to the bike. So I'm riding through puddles and what have you. And I get onto the next street down, and this is where me and you was the other week when we reenacting my moment. It was a bit like Titanic, but just a lot worse. We just stood there looking up and laughing, basically. So I was stood and doing the stance as I'm sat on a bike. A lot more like Tommy Cooper, didn't I? Than anything else. So I'm sat like this. and just looking up. So I'm sat on the bike. I'm 8 years old, and for some reason I just look straight up above me, and I see. And the only way I can describe it is two-tone metal, an outer circle. So if you draw a circle the size of a tennis ball on a piece of paper, yeah, and then the inner circle is probably about half an inch in, and you draw that. The inner circle's darker, the outer circle is a lot lighter, but I'm sure it had small black ring like pepper pot rings around the outside. They weren't that big, but I don't know if that was real or not. It was definitely two-tone, but I'm not. I'm sure it had the pepper pot dots around it, but I'm not 100%. It wasn't making any noise. Didn't see anyone, and I'm looking at it from like directly like the underbelly of this craft.
Yeah.
There's no noise. It wasn't dipping. It wasn't moving about. It was just there, just floating. So I'm just like that, staring straight up at it. And I could not tell you if I was there for 10 minutes or 2 hours. It was like, I don't know. I was just drawn into it.
Did
I
anybody
don't
else
remember.
see it?
No, because none of me. This is a weird thing. So I wasn't normally allowed out, like I said, because it had been raining. Go out on my bike, but I think it'd been mithering my mum that much. She's like, just get out of the house, just go and get run over, do whatever. I don't care. It was one of them, right? So, but either I think some of my mates used to go and see the grandparents for the weekend, so I know they've done that, or they might have been on holiday. I don't know, but there's none of my mates were out for whatever reason. So it's like it's just me, and like I said to you before, I don't ever recall seeing anyone while I was out and about. Don't recall seeing any cars because like I said, you've got one bit near the top of the estate where you can get in, and then as you know, you can get out down the bottom. So they're the only two ways in and out. All the other streets are dead ends. So I don't recall seeing any cars, but you'd probably only see like 7 or 8 cars a day going up and down there anyway. And it was just there's no one, nothing about. So I'm on the next street down on the corner. So I'm just looking up, and I couldn't tell you how long. I could have been there 30 seconds, and then my neck was aching. So quick down, stretched it a bit, look back up, gone, nothing there. But I do strongly believe I was there for quite a while, and I did have someone remote view the location. I give them the coordinates, the date, the time, roughly the time of year, and all the information that I could as to the exact point of where it all happened. And they remote viewed it, and they believe that I have had some sort of not abduction. Abduction wasn't the word that was used. Connection to him. So still take. So abduction is more like you're taken and you're experimented on. This was more. I've been, I suppose, taken, but nothing happened. So whether they give me any information or just wanted to analyze me or whatever, I don't know. And then that was it. So that's all I've got from that. And it was only 3 years ago that I had this remote viewing done. But to come back and tell me what she told me, because like I said, I didn't tell her what had gone on. I just give her the time, the year, the area, and roughly what time of year it was. I didn't even give them the time of day. Literally, didn't give the time of day, just the month, the year, and the location. And they came back with all this different information. And they did that on 2 different places. And some of the information that they come back with, they wouldn't know unless they was with me in that room. You couldn't guess it, put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I guess kind of jumping a little bit to that topic of remote viewing. Something I've not really got any experience in. I've spoken to people that can say they can remote view and astral project and these types of things. What's kind of your take on that side of the paranormal?
See, I believe anyone can do it. It's just having the right mindset to do it and then you've just got to try. It's like anything. Anyone can do anything. You've just got some people, and like it's like musicians. Some people just naturally pick a guitar up or go on a piano and just start playing it, and like never touched it before. I get that. But then anyone can learn to play it. Well, depending how good you are, that's another story. But anyone can play an instrument. Anyone can play football. But it's the quality of what you're doing. So same sort of thing with remote view and astral projection. Once you learn how to do it, then you can do it. But a lot of people, I've tried it. You kind of like go into a meditative state, like lucid dreaming. So you can't like trying to control is what you're doing as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I used to always get to it feels like your body's vibrating, but you're not actually moving. But inside, it's like someone's got you proper shaking you. That's what it feels like. And I was told that is where you are at the point of leaving your body to do the astral projection. And remote viewing is I was thought it's very similar to that. You kind of like, you come out of yourself to then view these things with your third eye, even though you still stay in the same place. You don't actually go out. You don't go out on an astral projection and do it. You're doing it from your mind's eye. So you're still in your own body while you're doing it, but you can see it. That's why it's called remote view rather than astral project.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's my take on it anyway. And like I said, I have tried it, and I've got to the point where in a couple of dreams, I've actually been able to feel and touch and feel the temperature of this building and smell the grass, feel the breeze on my face. And then as I was waking up, I felt something. It's like someone grabbed me on the back and just pulled. Do you know when they just pull you straight out like you see in the movies or a cartoon? It felt like that, like you're on a massive elastic cord. And within a second, or so it felt, like sitting up in bed. Like, wow, what just happened? That was the first time I did it.
Jeez. Wow.
So, but I had no control of what I was doing. So
Interesting.
it works. It does work.
I need to look into it more.
Yeah.
So going back to, I mean, I'm trying to think which one to go to next, but I'm just going to say pterodactyl.
Yeah. So this is back. So this is the Milton Keynes one, and this is where everything was happening. And I mean, it was not all of it was negative, but I'm taught this was on a daily basis from shadow people, full body apparitions running downstairs. See, I've got my hoodies and that hung up on the door. Yeah. Imagine if I went up there now, moved it like that, held it there for 2 seconds and put it back, but without actually seeing somebody doing it. But you could not see the person doing it. You'd just see that, yeah, there was stuff like that going on. There was whispering in your ear. I was outside and the orbs watching me, observing me. Then I went out the next day. I just had a conversation just before I did this. I was on the phone to someone because I'm doing another one on Wednesday. It was an orb. It looked like a pinprick. So I've kind of changed how I think it was. So I thought it was large. It's a metallic orb, silver. And I think it was further away. I thought it was like a couple of miles away, and it looked like like a pinhead. But thinking about it now, I think it was closer and smaller.
Right.
So I'm thinking now, rather than it being like size of a bus, I'm thinking more size of a football, and it was a lot closer because it was a clear sky.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Other than the trees, there's a tree line at the back of the house. I had nothing to judge like the perception of size and distance.
Yeah.
There's no cloud. There's a cloudless sky. It's like this time of year, blue sky. And I got out to feed the rabbits, and I seen this ball in the sky. I'll get to pterodactyl in a minute because it happened. I was stood in the same spot actually. So I got out. I had a double rabbit hutch. I had 2 rabbits. So I've gone out, and because it was warm, I go and make sure they're all right, give them fresh water, clear all the crap out if I needed to, give them some fresh food. So I was doing that, and I kept looking up. So as I'm there, I'm looking to like myself, like southeast, and it's like, yeah, it's still there. I looked again. Yeah, it's still there. I'm like, right. So I went in, didn't think anything about it because I thought I was seeing all this different stuff at this time. It's like it's just another thing on the list. Anyway, the next morning, went back out again. Same routine. One of us would go out and check the rabbits. Well, usually me. Anyway, so I thought, oh, I wonder if that thing's there. Messing about, looked up. It's like fear of dread. It was there. Exact same. I'm like, oh, because it was. I could line it up to one of the trees, and that at that moment, it was like it now knows. I know it's watching me. It was that feeling. It's that knowing of being observed. Of all the thousands of people that it could be watching, I knew it was watching me and nobody else. But I can get to why I know it was that as well. And it was like, didn't even bother with the rabbits. Do you know when you get that horrible sick gut feeling?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was that. It's like, I can't do it. I had to go straight back in the house. It was just, I didn't go back outside for a couple of days. I was off work that week as well. I just refused to like look up towards it. It was awful. It's just that knowing, that moment of knowing, just felt sick, made me feel
Yeah,
sick. It was
yeah, yeah.
awful. But so this is why I know that all this is now connected. So same, yeah. I know I've worked out now that this is around about the same time because of the job that I was doing, and just everything about it. It's just things are just like fitting back into place.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was laying in bed one night and I decided near the window. So I had the Kallax IKEA units, a four box
Yeah, yeah.
one.
I got two
Yeah.
behind it next
Yeah.
to me.
So I had one of them, and I had a tinted glass thing over the top. You'll stop it getting dirty. I used to put like photos and all that underneath. Do you like memorabilia from different things and what have you?
Yeah.
So I'd have that on there. I forgot about this. I remembered this the other day, and this is how I know what time of year it was because I actually found a photo on Google Photos that I took of all these different like postcards from different parts of the world and all that kind of stuff. And I lay in bed one night and I woke up and it was early hours. I'd say it's between 1 and 4 in the morning. And I just got the urge to get something out my nose. So it's like Santa. Oh, yeah, hold on a minute, I'll get you. It was like I could feel something in my nose, and I'm sure. Right, I need to work out. So it was So if I'm lay this side, it was there. Right, so it was my right nostril. Yeah. And whatever it was round about there.
Just under
And
your bridge of you.
yeah, he couldn't feel it, but I knew it was in there. And I did it then. My hand was inside my nose. You know, that didn't have the light on or anything, but you know, you can smell blood and you can see it, and your hand goes all sticky.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was like that. And I was going and going, and I managed to get this thing out my nose, and it was the size of a piece of rice. It's white because I always sleep with the windows open and the curtain open. So there was some street light coming in because we lived in a croft. So there's 4 lights, one in each corner, I think one in the middle, but only a couple of them worked. So there's enough light coming in for me being able to see what I was doing, but you couldn't see detail on anything. So I got this little thing out. I said about length of piece of rice, but it was hollow. And I'm like feeling it. It's like, that's plastic. Anyway, I'm that tired. I thought, right, I'll put it on there, put it on the side, and I'll leave it. I'll have a proper look at it in the morning, going back to sleep. I'm like, I'll just wash the bed in tomorrow. It's going to be covered in blood anyway. Woke up in the morning, no blood, nothing. No blood on my hand. You know when you get dirt and it gets ground in around the base of your nail and under your nail, or even in your knuckle, nothing. It's like I've been cleaned. And this thing that was on the unit, nowhere to be seen. I even I was searching literally with a fine tooth comb looking for this thing. I moved everything out of the way gently, just in case. Could not find it anywhere. And we had floorboards. It wasn't carpet. It was like proper floorboards.
Mm.
So it couldn't, and it was closed. There's only a couple of little gaps, but it weren't near where I was. And it couldn't have gone anywhere. Nowhere to be seen. But how was I clean? There was no blood on my nose, but I could feel like an indentation in my nose. I felt it for a couple of months afterwards. And there's just nothing, no blood, no smell. It's like, what is going on?
So how do you try and explain that like yourself to yourself? What do you think?
Well, at the time, it's just like, I thought it's another, actual thought was it's another one of them things. It's just all this ghost crap just keeping on at me.
Mm.
And it got to the point where all this stuff was happening. I just sit there and go, look, please, this is out loud. Just stop. Just give me a few days on my own. I really don't need this crap right now. I just want to be left alone. Go and bother someone else because you're really not doing yourselves any favors. And I'm getting pretty pissed with you. And it would stop for like maybe a week at the most. And then gradually it'd start again. But I'm like with the ball and that, I know that that was connected because why would they be observing me? And then within a week or so, I'm pulling this thing out my nose that then I cannot find, which I kind of think it's gone back in there because I've put my hand back in my notes to feel, and I can't get to where I could get to before.
Mm,
So,
right,
so
yeah.
it might have just the membranes closed over or whatever. I don't know, but I remember ripped through my nose membrane, like the inside fleshy bit, and that's how I know how bad it was bleeding.
Wow.
Yeah. So
How long ago was that?
that was so 14, 13, 2012, 2013. So 11 or 12 years ago.
Right. Mm.
Yeah. So that was that. But
Yeah.
while all that was going on, I was having these dreams about Star Wars. Not the movie, but I call it Star Wars in the sky. So I'd be out walking about in places, in the dreams, in places that I knew, either where I grew up or where I was living at the time, with different people, and see all these lights in the sky. And it's like lasers shooting across. First of all, it looked like fireworks. So, oh, that's quite nice. And then when you realise it's like some intergalactic war going on above your head, you're like, oh.
Wow.
And then the same bloke every single time would come out, an old guy, grey beard, like goatee, grey round the sides, bald on top, short, stocky, and he'd go, "Oi, what you doing here? You're not supposed to be able to see any of this." And I'd turn on my heel and I'd be like, "Come," because I knew in the dream I knew what he meant. I knew I had to get away from him. But in them dreams, everything was real. The cars going past. It's always at night time. They were walking across the grass down park, waiting to cross a road in a dream. How mad's that? Because of the traffic. It's just weird stuff like waiting to get on a bus.
Yeah, it's not stuff you usually dream about, is it?
No, I know that's what I mean. And it was recurring dream, but it was always in different places. It was never in the same place. But this same guy, this little guy, it was always the same bloke.
That's mad.
Yeah, very
So,
strange.
so this is all going on, all kind of at the same time. And this was in Milton Keynes?
Milton Keynes, yeah.
This one, yeah. So what did your family think about or your partner think about what was happening? It was happening to them, but they kind of having the same level.
No, they was there while it was going on, and I was telling them, and they was experiencing some of the stuff, like with the clothes moving and the voices, and something else that I'm going to get into in a minute. And if I was to contact them, even though we don't really speak, they would verify this.
Hmm.
They'd be like, "Yeah, that did happen, 100%." I can fully confirm that what he's saying is true.
Right.
But even with the stuff that I told him, it's like there's no reason for me to make up. Why would you want to make something up like that? It's like I know I've got a bit of a creative mind, but it doesn't go to that extent.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So pterodactyl.
so pterodactyl. So I'm in the back garden again, and this time we've got a shed. So I built a shed. So you come out, it's all patio, and the doors. So the no door from the kitchen. Kitchen and living room at the back of the house. So you got to go through the living room. So it's like that living room diner. So it's a diner then living room. So
Mm.
at the end, there's two big glass windows and the door. So you go out the door on the right hand side, and then the rabbit hutch was at the fence up against next door, so we could see it from the window. And then I built a shed on the grass behind it, and don't don't know why, but where I built the fence, if you stand at a certain point, it cuts out every single little bit of artificial light. There's no street light getting. You could stand in the garden, you'd be able to see the Milky Way and like all the different constellations and what have you.
Wow.
It's
Nice.
amazing. It's like I can't do that if I tried. Anyway, so I'd been out in the back garden with a telescope. I'd been sky watching. It was about 11 o'clock at night because I used to watch him. I remember something that David Bowie said years ago in an interview. He goes, if you go out around about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just stare on a clear, or it don't even have to be clear, but as long as you can see some of the stars, just pinpoint and focus at one particular point in the sky and just stare at it. After a couple of minutes, you'll start seeing all these other stars and they'll just be dancing about, just all these lights going through the sky, doing like Torval and Dean and all that. He didn't say that, but you know, it's true. Not every night, but I'd say 9 out of 10 you see that.
Mm.
And I still do it now. And sometimes don't see it as much, but there's a lot more lighting around here, so it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So I'd been doing that, and I'd been looking at it through the telescope, or trying to, but I couldn't get it to work. But that's another story. So put the telescope away, put it in the shed. It's one of the massive Celestron ones. They're like a big, it's like a what they call trombone size. It's massive.
Yeah. I've got a one
Yeah.
of them.
So it's on the tripod. So I'd always leave it set up, put it in the shed, lock it up. So I turn around, walk into the back of the house. I've got my mobile in my right hand. Yeah. So I think I was using it as a torch because a lot of snails and that, and I think barefoot, but I don't really fancy standing on anything. So I'm walking back, and this is like middle of summer, about this time of year. For some reason, I just look up out the corner of my eye. Didn't say anything, but I thought, I just looked up and I just watched this thing fly, and it just went, just watched it go. And it was only going that fast. And I just did not take my eyes off it and just watched it fly all the way across. So it was completely out of sight. It was just above the tree rooftops. So the roofs were high at the back and they sloped down. So there wasn't a typical roof. It was like a lean-to roof.
Mm.
So I could just see it, just like a margin above the rooftop. And it was tan colour brown. You could see the head, the underbelly, the feet, the wings. It had bat-like wings. But you know where you've got the first part, then it stops, then you got the hands, and then the second part, then the bat has that third bit. Well, these didn't have the third bit. It's just like one, then two, and you could see like the hands and claws. Even though it was like I said, 11 o'clock at night, it was a clear night, and because I'd been looking at the sky, my eyes had adjusted to that lack of light.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, the old, like saddle colour brown leather, like the old leather jackets. It was like that. And you
How
could
big
see-
was it?
Well, I initially thought it was probably about, I think originally said about 12 foot long from head to tail and about 16-foot wingspan. But now I reckon it's nearer 24 foot long with a 16 to 18-foot wingspan. It was massive. It wasn't like a little bit bigger than a crow or anything like that, because it was just where I was stood and the length of it, and where, because it had the comparison of being able, the ratio of the house from like window to like the bathroom window to the back bedroom window.
Hmm.
Even it was a distance from the bathroom. So say its nose was at the bathroom window and the end of its tail was at the end of the bedroom window. That alone was 14 foot, and that is me just stood in the garden. So you can easily add another 10 foot onto that because of how far away it was.
Yeah.
So
Gosh.
if that was that length, the wingspan must have been at least 16, 18 foot. And
Wow.
it didn't fly off course, didn't make a sound, didn't nod its head, didn't breathe fire, didn't do anything like that. It just flew in a straight line. Mate, no, I say, mate, a lad I know said, was it a kite? I'm like, there's the most, I can't even answer that. That's the most ridiculous question I've ever been asked about anything. If it was a kite, from where it flew to where it flew out of sight was at least a mile, mile and a half. So that's a long bit of rope or string. And at night, there's no lights coming off it, no sound. But I was speaking to someone about it when I first was talking about it, and they said that other people that have sighted them, they get into a thermal drift. So once you get in it, and then they just glide. But someone got in touch with me beginning of last year through the YouTube channel, and he lived on the other side of Milton Keynes, a place called Bletchley. Now he said him and his missus, there's a new Asda, but the side of it is like you can park up and walk right. It's like a not nature reserve, but like a park area with a walkway through the trees and fields.
Hmm.
But they'd parked up there because it's on quite a lift, and they was watching the sunset. And he said he's seen the same sort of thing around about the same time of year. He said it was about coming up to mid to the end of August. So what time are we on now? 10 to 9, and the sun's just set. So this was around about 8:30. And he said they'd been shopping. They got in the car and just watching the sunset. So it was all beautiful and a bit of cloud, and you get all the reflection and all the colours. They just sat there taking it all in. You just see this black thing, and he thinks, oh, it's like a crow or something. But then he realizes how far away it is and how big it is, and it turns, and the size of its wings and the way it was beating them. Now, this is a weird thing, not like anything else was normal, but it flew. So as he's looking from the east, I'm looking from the west, right? This is flying south to north. So when he's looking from the west, it's flying south to north. When I'm looking from the east, it's flying south to north. Yeah.
Hmm.
And from where he was to where I was, it was roughly in the same line of flight within a few hundred meters.
Right.
So where he was and
Wow.
where he judged to where it was, and where I was to where I judged to where it was, and it's just off the old original A4 Watling Street, within quarter of a mile of that, at the old Roman road that goes from London to wherever. I don't know where it goes. Sorry.
It keeps going.
Yeah, forever.
Mm.
And it was flying parallel to that, but the one I seen and the one he seen.
That's crazy.
And look, I had my phone in my hand, did not even consider taking a photo.
That's quite a common thing
Yeah.
with
Well,
your photos. Well, so people don't even
every
think about it.
time, yeah. But the thing is, I was like, run straight into the house. Like, I won't say I went, I've seen a dragon. Seen a dragon. Like, what do you mean? So I explained it. So we stopped watching TV because I had the computer going through the TV at the time. And I'm on YouTube and everywhere just looking for dragons and just looking for dragons. It's like, no, it wasn't like that. I didn't even think of like pterodactyl or prehistoric, anything. And I'm looking, and Joe, when you're going through, I don't know if you're the same, it's like, oh, what's that? And you kind of like, you see something else and you start looking at that and you forget what you was doing there originally. And I forgot about this. So that was, say, 2013. I probably 2019. So 6 years later, I seen a picture on Facebook. It's CGI, obviously, or animated
Yeah.
image. And I actually fell and sat back into the chair. I'm like, oh my God, that is what I seen. And I read the description, and it was, pterodactyl. Is it a plesiosaur or something? The other one. I'm not sure. I'm not that well up on
Yeah.
mythical creatures and dinosaurs. But what got me, the main thing that got me, was the length of the beak and the head, but then the tail, and you're like at the end, you see that diamond thing, like what you get, like where lions got that ball of fluff at the end. It was
Yeah.
that. It's like it. It was just complete. If it didn't have that on, I'd have thought, oh, I probably would have thought, oh, it's a kite. But because it had this thing on the back, this diamond, but it was massive. It was a lot bigger than I initially thought it was.
That's crazy. And definitely the first time we've had a pterodactyl story. Or even a big bird. Let's call it a big bird.
Yeah, it was a giant leather-looking creature flying. But it didn't, that was the thing, it didn't flap its wings. I'm like, no, I don't even think of thermal drift. I'm just trying to like acknowledge what I'm looking at. But so this is the other thing now. So the more I go into my own research of things that I've encountered, it's like, was it a pterodactyl? Was it something putting a mask on to look like a pterodactyl? Could it have been some sort of UFO? Could it have been a Earth type flying machine? Was it? Could it have just been a time slip? Could I have been in a time slip? Could I have imagined it? But then I know two other people that have seen it, and one of them was in the same area.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that's confirmation for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it would be for me as well. That's crazy. Bringing it up a bit more recent.
Yep.
So this year you've been pretty busy.
Just a little bit.
So a couple of months ago, I came to Birmingham to watch you give a talk
Yes.
at the Birmingham UFO group. Talk me through how that felt, because obviously I think that's your first time
Well,
giving a
that
talk.
was the
How
first
how was that?
awful, absolutely awful. Never see, doing it like this is easy because you got the camera and I'm talking to you. So when I do mine, I'm doing it live. You've got all the chat, so that it's like I'm chatting to whoever on the screen, and everyone else I'm having a text message conversation with. That's how it feels. That's how I have it in my head. They're not. That's being rude or ignorant. They're not real people because you can't physically see them. It's virtual, so it doesn't matter. It's easy. I'm just looking at a computer screen. I can see me and you. And that's it. There's nobody else there. And then, not long after doing it, I remember someone saying to me, "It's like, yeah, but it's not just you, them in there. Because you've got to remember, you've got to average it out. There's at least 3 people watching on one device at any time. So, however many views you get in times it by 3, and you'll get an average of roughly how many are watching. I'm like, shut up, don't talk to me again. Can't cope. But then going to this to do it publicly, it was like, I was excited to do it because it's something I said I'd never do. But I was like, I need to push myself because I pushed myself with doing the YouTube channel. Never ever in a million years thought I'd ever be doing anything like this. Never. I'm not talking about the stuff that I talk about. Then I thought, it can't be that hard. If I can do this, then surely I can do that. And it's like the first half, it was like I was just when you just want that all to open up. It was awful. I knew I was nervous. I don't know if anyone else picked up. Did you pick up on?
No, you both came across really well.
No, I
Like
was
well spoken.
attacking
It was like well explained what you were showing us. It was good.
Well, what? So the reason I go long and deep into what the encounter that I'm telling you is because I relive it, and I think if I relive it, then I'm going to give you every single little bit of detail, so I don't miss anything. Because I don't want to miss something out, and someone say, "Oh, well, last time you said it did this, or there was that there."
Yeah.
But I think each time that I do it, I remember a little bit more detail. I remember more detail, so I explain it a little bit better. And I think I'm getting better at explaining stuff as well. But the first half is absolutely awful. I could have easily just curled up under a table and started crying. And what I'd have felt better doing that. But then the second half, I thought I got into it, and then we started talking about Bench Guy. It was like, right, because Bench Guy is like that's like the for me, that's the what's it called? The Holy Grail of encounters that I've ever had. That's the one. And I got to a point, I kind of feel a bit, not arsey, but I was leaning on the table like that. And then, like, you're leaning forward. I didn't even bother. I think I got rid of the microphone at that point. I was just shouting across the room. But I think because I got into it, and it's like, oh, people are actually listening. They want to know what you're talking about. So I think it was that because I was like, yeah, but people just come to these every month anyway, regardless. What if it's like, I don't know, do you get heckled at these places? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know I didn't know what to expect because I've been to conferences, but not like a open mic conference, if you know what I mean. Because that's what it kind of felt like. It was good. I really did enjoy it. And thanks to Dave for putting it on for us and sorting it out. And thank you to you and everyone else that came watching. Really appreciate it. It was nice to see familiar faces. And I think that made it a lot more easier.
Yeah,
Because I spoke to you a few times and we've met and what have you. So it was good. It was nice.
No,
So,
he
thank
did.
you.
He did well. It was very interesting. It was very interesting. I think the tech issues at the start didn't help. Probably
Yeah,
the
I think
nerves
that
a
was
bit.
like, oh, it's just not going to work. It's not. I was like already in that mindset of it's just not going to work. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to Emma and Sarah as well. Emma for putting all the videos and everything together, and Sarah for joining me and both doing it because we'd been out investigating as well. So that kind of like that's why we did it together.
Yeah, that's Emma and Sarah from To Investigate.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned it then as your holy grail of
Bench guy.
couches. So I guess we can't go without briefly
Yeah.
explaining what this.
Can I
what
just
it
give you
is.
a little teaser on this one?
Go on.
So, well, not a teaser. I won't go into complete detail of it, but this happened 3 years ago in April. 3 years April just gone. I was out as one of the first investigations that I did on YouTube. It's a live recording, and we've been to two different locations. This was the second location. I'm stood over near the Commonwealth War Graves, which is the best kept part of the cemetery. It's like a bowling green compared to the thicket of the rest of it. And there's a guy sat on the bench, and I thought, oh, it's the other guy that I'm out with. He's dressed like him, hat, hoodie, trackies, jeans, trainers. So I'm shining my torch. I'm like, so two people that were doing the studio bit were like, be funny if it's not him. I'm like, no, it won't because it's not him, and I've just blinded a complete stranger. So I walked over, explained what I was doing. I apologized, said, yeah, that's fine. So I went and found Mark, and that guy had said, the person on the bench, pale white skin, about 24 to 27 years old, spoke really good English, but had a really thick Dutch accent. Clearly tell he was Dutch. No doubt about it. Went over to Mark. He goes, the guy's like, you just walked past, so that's how I found you. He went, there's no one sat on the bench. He'd been recording, he stopped recording, went back on the video as he's walking past the bench. There's no one on that bench. Right? I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you. Like, but imagine we're in the same place at the same time. You watch back on the video, I've cut it down like frame by frame. On the very first frame, you can clearly see how he's dressed, how I seen him dressed, the colour of his face. After that frame, you can clearly see an orb that starts off long and flat and then becomes an off, like squashed ball in front of his face. You can see the circle of the torch that stops near his feet or just before his feet, enough light so I could see him. He had his phone in his right hand that was emitting a green light. He's got an orange orb And when you zoom right in on the frames, you can see that this orb, you could put your hand between his face and the orb. It isn't a reflection of his face. It's something stopping you seeing what or who it truly is. And I had a conversation with this person. Now, one of the odd things is, as I'm filming it, some people, and even like Ryan, who was in the studio, and Deb Singleton, they're like, is Andy talking to himself? There's nobody there. So I had a GoPro on a body harness as well. And I'm using my phone through StreamYard on YouTube to film it. So loads of people that still come in the chat on my channel, they will verify all of this. Some people could see him. Some people could hear him. Others couldn't see or hear him. Right? And like you could see, I could see the chat going through. Who's he talking to? It's like the guy on the bench, but there's nobody there. And then Ryan's like, there's no one there. Who's he talking to? Right? And it's not until you watch the footage back, as you know, when you film something, it doesn't show at the time when you watch it back, and then you see it. It's like, oh my God, there was nobody there. And I can give you the names of people that were in the chat at the time that were like, yeah, it's the weirdest thing ever. But this orange glow in front of his face, just different. So I got the footage off the GoPro, but it's like action camera, like cheap version, and because it was dark, it wasn't very stable, so you couldn't really see anything, but you could hear the audio. When you listen to the audio, he sounds like a frail 80-year-old man, like really sort of voice, not a mid-20s kid
From
or young
Holland.
man, I should say. Do you know what I mean? Still Dutch, still a Dutch accent. Now, and this is the other thing at the time, I've been back and I've documented this as well. So there's two full rows of war graves, yeah? And there's another full row of war graves at the back. So some of them were English. The majority of the names were either Eastern European, like German, Dutch, Hungarian, Czech, because it tell you what army they're from, what country, and what division that they're in. I've been back. I did. It's only a couple of weeks ago when I did the road trip. I did this, and I walked all the way across the front row to the second row. Every single name was a British name, like Parkins, Edwards, Clapham, Davis, Roberts. Right, just your normal English. There's a couple that were like could be Irish or they could like different, but it was an English word. There's only two that was one was a Czech, two that were Czech, and one of them was a pilot. But the third row, like the one nearest the bushes, furthest away from the bench, there's two gravestones at that end near where he was sat. Then there's one, and it's 22 steps away from that. I measured it in steps, and then it's 6 steps to the next one. And so it's 2, 1. And I thought, oh, there's 5 there, but there's not. There's 6. So you've got 6, 1, and 2. So it's like 7 or 8 steps. So you got the 6, 7 or 8 steps to the one, then 22 steps to the other one. You can see in the video there is a full row, a full third row. And I went back I went back later, same day or a couple of nights later, and you could see all these different foreign names that were on the headstones. You go back now, that most of the third row isn't there, and they're all English names other than these two Czech guys, and one of them is definitely a pilot. And that's one of the latest videos that I put up. I think I've put it on the shorts. I'm walking past and I'm pointing the camera and I'm reading the name at every single, like I was doing a school register.
So how does that happen?
I don't know.
What is that all about?
The more I research it, the weirder it gets. If I'd have just left it, I'd be like, yeah, I spoke to someone that I don't think was a real human. And then we look back in the video, he weren't there. Some people could see him, some people couldn't see him, some people couldn't see or hear him. I had a conversation with him. And then it was like, and now he's got an orange ball materialized in front of his face. It looks like burning fire. And these gravestones have appeared with different names on. And then the names have changed and all these other headstones have vanished. But then if you do it frame by frame, it's gone from a normal person to something that's being disguised. And when I initially walked away from him and reality kicked in, first thing I got into my head was, I've just spoke to the devil. And it was that horrible gut feeling again was, what? And I turned around quick and there's no one there. He wasn't on the bench, he'd gone. And I was only about 40 foot away, about 15 yards. No, thank you.
It's mad. I mean, I got goosebumps when I first heard you talking about it at the Beauty Fog, watching the video. And I've watched back because you got like a video where you sort of edited.
So I've got the
put it in
full.
in a
I've got a
sequence
video. So what I used to do was when I got investigating, I'd do it from from leaving my door, leaving the house. So Mark or Richard picked me up because I was carrying all the equipment. They'd pick me up and I'd film it. I'd film us driving there. So just so you know that there's nothing set up, no gimmicks, no. Do you know what I mean? It was what you see is what you get. If we get anything, great. If we don't, it's a night out. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
And then all the way back to the house, and then I'd end it when I was back at the front door. So I've cut that right down. So I've cut it down from where I was at the first place. Then I've cut out was traveling from point A to point B, and then just after, and then the other bits after in the cemetery until it ends. So I've cut it right down from like 2 hours 20 to like 1 hour 10. So it's well over an hour of nothing. And then I've done it where I've gone back and I filmed it, and I've gone back with different people. This is around about 9:15 with the same camera. I've still got that phone that I used then. It was a Samsung Note 10 Plus. I use it now for filming. So same camera, same handheld, same torch, everything the same, even dressing in the same clothes. And we cannot recreate that no matter what. We've tried it with different equipment. You cannot get that glow in front of the face. If his face, he had his phone in his hand on his lap, in his right hand, and he was looking at me like that. That side of his face would have lit up, but it's like it's that side. If you zoom right into his face, he's got like a nose comes down like that, and his chin comes up to a point. And if you look at some of the old images of the devil, that's what he looks like a witchy type thing.
Wow.
And I didn't see that till about 12 months after it happened, and I think I've just spoke to the devil. That was the impression I got from it. But it wasn't negative. But it kind of like, do you want to do the glamoring? It felt like I'd been drawn in, and I'm having this conversation. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like when we started talking, like we met and we get on, and so we're trying to talk about everything all at once. It was like that, and then you come out of it, and it's like, oh yeah, he's a top guy, blah blah blah. But with this, it was like you come out of it, it's like, shit, that wasn't normal. Yeah,
That's mad. And I urge everyone to watch that video because it's absolutely crazy.
There is. If you go onto my channel and just type in bench guy, like I said, the first one was 3 years ago in April, so April 2021. Any of them that's named bench guy, it will give you the details. It's me going back numerous times, different days, different equipment. I even go and sit on the bench on my own where he was sat, hoping it'd trigger something. Not getting nothing.
Crazy.
Nothing at all. It's mad.
Crazy. So yeah, make sure you check out that video. So talk us through the different podcasts that you have and when our viewers can watch them.
Oh, right.
So
I've done I've gone for all the different names as you do through YouTube and Facebook, because when you create a channel, you have to give it a name, and they won't let you do it unless you put a name to it. So it's like, I've got to think of something. So I come up with this name, didn't like it's Codes of the Paranormal was the original one. It changed a few times and it's Codes of the Unknown. Then I stopped choosing my real surname just because I have another Facebook account with that name, my real surname on it. I didn't want to associate what I do with YouTube with all like personal family and friends, going out, holidays, Christmas, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, right, create another Facebook account. But I like the word code, so it's like, oh, I'll be Andy Codes. Then I spoke to my cousin, the one that you met, and he was like, why don't you do like Andy Decodes, like decoding? Ah, yeah. So that's where that comes from. So then it was Decodes for a while. Then I got I was in contact with a guy from Wivenshaw, and he has this. This is an alien in a jar. Don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
I
just
don't want
about.
to move. It's on like a sticky pad. And he said about it, he sent me some photos. He said, if you want it, it's yours. Make me an offer. So I made him an offer. He accepted the amount. A few weeks later, I went up and got it. And since then, it's like, that's what I need to do. We had to give it a name. So it was like, we got the name Nate, was doing an investigation up in Staley Bridge. And the name Nate, Nathaniel kept coming up. So that's Nate come from. So it's like, perfect. Alienate. So then instead of the name Nate, change it to the number 8. If you flip the number 8 on its side, it's the same as, I don't know if you can see it, the infinity sign. Yeah, which is also the construction for DNA. And if you go back to what we're kind of being told now about humans and aliens, it's a DNA construction that we've got alien DNA. So that's where I got Alien 8 from. So then I bought the domains alienate.uk, alienate productions.com, Nate and 8, and I've got andy-codes.com as well. So yeah, I just thought buy them all and then decide what I'm going to do with them. So going back to the question, it's like, right, put everything under it. So because I do all the editing and making the videos and do all the production side of it myself. So hours and hours of learning, and I enjoy it. And I'm not learning as much because I've got to the point where I'm just learning the updates of it all. It's all right, but I like the learning part of it. It's great. It's like when you find something, it's, oh my God, it does that. It's like when you're doing the video production.
Yeah.
So, so I have a couple of co-hosts and that, but I do all the background stuff, everything, the arranging, the going out, the like paranormal road trip and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, right, it's all right doing the paranormal, but I kind of wanna, because I always like, as you know, I like to have a laugh, and I do take it serious. But I think if you take it too serious, it becomes robotic. I think you need to have that, have a laugh doing it. You can still take it serious and laugh about it at the same time. And I think I'm allowed to do that because of the encounters that I've had that I've just spoke about. If you don't laugh at it, you're going to let it bother you for the rest of your life, and you're never ever going to move on from it.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it, laugh at it, and go, do you know what? Up yours. This is what I'm doing, because you're just going to let it take over. And I know people that's happened to, and it is a shame because you just need to turn. You do need to turn it around and just go, yeah, I'm. It happened to me. I'm in charge, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
So that's why I do it like that. And then it's just got to a point where I thought, you know what, I need to not step away, but like sidestep from the paranormal and do other like podcast stuff. So that's where so I do one with Tommy called We Won't Talk About Ghosts. So Tommy does a podcast called Let's Get Freaky. Top guy, absolutely brilliant guy. You need to get him on here. You will absolutely buzz, honestly. You really will. And so we come on and we just talk about anything. And as his mum put it, because she watches, she goes, it's like watching Loose Women, male version of Loose Women. Well, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. How offended shall I be? So we just have a laugh at every like current affairs and everything that's going on and stuff that we've done, like kind of like taking the mickey out of ourselves.
Yeah.
Then on the Wednesday, do eerie encounters, which is we do more of we get the viewers to give us some subjects to talk about, some topics, and we'll concentrate on that, and then we're getting people to send in their encounters, and they can either read them out or they can send a video, no more than 2 minutes long, like a video message talking about it, or just a voice note. And we can play it, can change the voices, do whatever, change the names if people want to stay anonymous. Then Friday, which is just Alienate UK, which is the main channel, the original channel. Then I do that Monday face. That's more because obviously that Monday face. The reason I chose that name is because depending what you're doing, like usually that Monday face, gotta go to work, and it's a like can't be bothered type of face. Or I'm going to the Bahamas for 2 weeks on holiday. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different Monday faces. That's why I chose that, and that's non-paranormal. That's just talking about what like hobbyists or work that people do and all that kind of stuff. You're just talking about what they want to talk about. Two things that I won't talk about on that: politics and religion. Anything else goes. So if anyone wants to come on and chat, just give me a shout. So that's Monday. So everything's kind of been on hold while I've done this road trip. And then me and the missus, Becky, we're doing one called That Him and Her podcast. And it's kind of like an insight into just us being us and the stupid things that she says and does. And me as well. And we've not started that one yet. We're supposed to start it last week, but we're going to have to leave it till this week. Just been busy. So there's 5 different podcasts that we're doing.
Wow.
And it's easier than doing a website, put it that way.
Yeah, well, I guess. When you're good at talking's good.
Yeah. So, and it's like I was saying as well, one used to be 2 hours, one was 60 minutes. And it's like each one was different. I thought, do you know what? Scrap all that. We'll do everyone 90 minutes. Then we know. Doesn't matter which one we're doing, it's 90 minutes. Doesn't matter if we go under or go over by a few minutes, but we know the knockoff time, 90, and it's done then. I just love doing it. Just enjoy it. And it's nice to have a laugh. And it's like with yourself, we talk about stuff, and even like people that are not into paranormal, they'll go, oh, but I did have this one thing that happened to me. It's like, well, come on the other show then. And it triggers and triggers.
Like my mum, it's like, all that rubbish that you talk about goes sort of blah, blah. But then she says in the next sentence, it's, I was in that hotel and that banging on. It's like, well, it's either something or nothing. Like, you can't be bothered.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, cool. So we just approaching that 90-minute mark.
Yeah, so I was just looking then.
This one, so cool. Yeah, so where you sort of mentioned it, but where's the best place to find you?
Right, so you can get me on Linktree. All my platforms are on there. It's dead easy to remember. It's that easy. I can't remember. So it's linktr.ee/Alienate UK. But if you type Alienate UK on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, so I'm just looking Facebook group, they're all on there. Even we're on podcast now. So I've done the first podcast that's out on Spotify, and it'll be on Apple Podcasts as of next week. So we're on all the Android devices at the moment: TuneIn, Stitcher, Heart, all them. I don't even know. There's too many. But once it goes on to Apple, it'll go on Castbox and all the Apple-related podcast players. So I was going to backlog some of the other ones, but I thought, no, I'm not. Wouldn't have been happy for them to go out as a podcast because I don't think that they was at the right place to be podcasts. And I thought, with what happened with YouTube and that, I thought, right, new chapter, new start. Right, let's start the podcast from now. So there's only one on there, and that's from Friday. But all the audio podcasts that I'm going to be doing are going to go on there from whichever podcast, whether it's a paranormal, me and the missus, me and Tommy, the encounters, whichever one. Yeah.
Nice one. Well, yeah, cheers, Andy, for coming on.
Thank you.
Always fun catching up with you.
It is. It's good.
It's always entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice
one.
Thank
you for asking me. And it's
Yeah,
great to meet
so-
up with you. If anyone ever gets the chance and Ash says, "Do you want to come on an investigation with me?" Say yes, because you will not regret it.
No, I get some absolute crazy shit happening.
Yeah.
That I've
You
not
can-
actually talked about on the podcast yet. I'm
No.
up to talking about that properly.
Yeah. Well, if
so
you
it's
want
not-
any of the footage of that, then I can send it you. So I'm in the middle of doing all that at the moment, so it's all good.
Nice one. Well, thank you very much, Andy. Have a great rest of the week, and
you.
we will speak soon. And cheers everyone for
Yep.
listening. And I'll see you same place next week.
Thanks for listening to Pursuit of the Paranormal with Ash Ellis. Title music created by Steve Yarwood and Ambienfinity. If you like the show, please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, X, and Instagram. And if you really like the show, please rate and review the show wherever you are listening. It really does help. See you next time, and until then, stay weird.